I'm back with part 2 of the wonderful world of private pressings. My name's Lance. I'm the owner of Permanent Records and Permanent Records Roadhouse in Los Angeles. We are a record store, but we're also a live music venue, a bar, and an event space for the community to gather in and share their love of odd things like private press records. So I did a previous part of this video. The first part can be streamed now. If you haven't seen that yet, you might as well go back to that because I'm not going to revisit the majority of what I talked about in the first part of the video. I'm just going to get straight to the heart of the matter in this part 2. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm basically showing examples of private press records from my personal collection to exemplify the reason behind why people love private pressings, especially weird record collectors love private pressings so much. So let's start with one of the oddest examples. This is Damian and the Criterions. I mean, we could stop right there. The artist's name is Damian and the Criterions, and this album's called Avant-Garde, and Avant-Garde it is indeed. This album, even though it features generic album art that you could, that many artists used in the past when they were self-releasing their music, is anything but generic. Damian, his last name is on here somewhere. I don't need to get into it. But Damian and the Criterions must have been a solo recording project of this gentleman, Damian. You can look his last name up online. It's something very Italian. He got a synthesizer and just lost his mind with it. This album sounds like Suicide meets a funhouse circus bad LSD trip. It is far out, and for a good example of that, if you can't handle the whole album, just go listen to Atlantic City, USA. It is one of the most insane pieces of music you will ever hear, but it's so endearing and wonderful and unique that I can't help but love it. I've owned this in the past and sold it, and I found it again recently, and I decided I needed to own that. That just had to be mine. Another album that was privately pressed is Straight Up by Mad Jack. This is a really killer, hard and heavy, tough as nails Southern rock album. I mean, it does not get much more Southern rock than that. You got the Mad Jack logo printed on a bottle of Jack Daniels. You got a gun, and you got, a deck of cards. Obviously, there's been a game of poker, played in this Roadhouse dive bar. I mean, what's not to love about that? I highly recommend this album by Mad Jack if you're into classic era hard Southern rock. So good. Then we also, in the rock world, have this incredible album by Randy and the Goats. This is called On the Lam. Riding Easy Records and I licensed this album for re-release. You can stream this digitally, as you also can the Mad Jack album I just held up. This album, this is from 1985, if I'm not, no, I'm sorry, 1981. And this is a New York record that sounds like some hybrid of Lou Reed and Tom Petty. It's just fantastic, early 80s rock, urban rock and roll stuff. And the song, forgive me, New York Survivor is amazing. It was included on a compilation called Sad About the Times, curated by Mikey Young from the band Total Control. And anyway, he's an Australian musician who has been involved in a lot of the best Australian music that has come out over the last decade or so. He chose to put New York Survivor on that comp bike, Randy and the Goats. This private pressing is absolutely stunning. There will be a vinyl reissue of this at some point, and I think we might still have some original copies of that album for sale on our website, currently permanentrecordsla.com, where you can also get a reissue of this incredibly far out, wasted biker rock masterpiece from 1975. This is Raven, Back to Ohio Blues, not the UK new wave of British heavy metal Raven. This is Raven from Columbus, Ohio on Owl Records. This is incredible stuff. If you want to hear the full backstory of Raven's Back to Ohio Blues, there is a whole video that I did as an Acid Archives entry on this incredible album. The OG of this is this is an original pressing. It's like a $1,500 record. It's absolutely amazing. Also recommended for fans of Height Cotter and Circuit Rider and Boa's Wrong Road and all things just wasted biker rock. Incredible. So those things, a little on the outsider tip. This is a private press masterpiece, and it is just a straight up masterpiece in general. This is a country rock record, but it's of the cosmic American music ilk. It's very psychedelic, and it is rare as hen's teeth. I don't know if you can see the price sticker on this thing, but it ran me upwards of $1,750 when I bought it. Well worth it. There are bootleg reissues of this, and they seem to come and go. Unfortunately, Phil Pearlman, the guy behind this record, seems to be completely opposed to reissuing this or either of the other amazing records that he self-released back in the day. But I highly recommend checking those out any which way you can. The other albums are called Beat of the Earth and The Electronic Hole, and those two albums are way more like Silver Apple's Velvet Underground influenced experimental music, whereas this is just a really accessible, enjoyable, laid back, psychedelic, rural, country rock jammer. It's insane. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I cannot speak highly enough of Relatively Clean Rivers. I'm sure this has been mentioned many other times in vinyl community videos, but I couldn't help but pull my copy out to show it off because it just, oh man, the album art, I'm like lost in it just looking at it in the reflection of the camera. If you like Flying Burrito Brothers and the Notorious Bird Brothers, the cosmic American music compilations that Numero Group has done, you have to hear Relatively Clean Rivers. It's absolutely amazing. And here's a really strange one. This is Jimmy Reitzler looking through Bobby's diary. This is a piece of outsider, real people wisdom right here. This is not music for your average Joe. This is an acquired taste and a real people music record for, only, not for the light of heart, not for the faint of heart, I guess I should say. It's absolutely amazing. I have some notes on the back here, including a note signed by Jimmy Reitzler himself. Yeah, this is really wacky stuff. And again, another LP that could have only been released at this time by the artists themselves privately. A lot of these records were released in editions of just a few hundred, and in some cases just 100 copies. And they were only released because the artist just was so confident and so proud of the recordings that they made that they absolutely could not vinylize it. And we, as record collectors, should be so thankful for that. All right, here is another one that's near and dear to me. This is Bill Vermet's 1984 synthesizer, minimal synth masterpiece, Katha Visions. So the story behind this record, and I think this is the test pressing if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a test pressing with photo paper. It is a test pressing. Photo paper paste on. That's why I shouldn't get the records out in the video. I'm sloppy. Anyway, artwork that ended up being reproduced for a legitimate pressing. I think he did 300 copies of this, if I'm not mistaken. Not a lot. And this record's amazing. If you like anything with a synthesizer on it, if you like 80s synth pop, if you like dark wave, cold wave, minimal wave, all the waves, you're gonna want to surf on this bad boy. It's so good. We were introduced to Bill Vermet, a Chicago musician, through our pal Stephen Krakow, aka Plastic Crime Wave, and we ended up buying Bill Vermet's record collection. I've mentioned that in previous videos. He had one of the greatest record collections I've ever laid eyes on. It was, I don't remember the quantity, probably 1,000 records or something like that. But he essentially bought every record he could get his hands on I don't know, sometime in the 80s. From 1967, 68 through that time period that had a synthesizer on it. So he had experimental avant-garde records from, you know, the late 60s, including Silver Apples and Bruce Hack and things like that. And then he had crazy prog and krautrock and things like that through the 70s. And then lots of really, really great minimal synth, new wave, synth punk, etc. And some private press LPs as well from the late 70s and early 80s. And the collection was just amazing. Absolutely mind-blowing, a total eye-opener. I kind of wish I had just kept every record in the collection, but you know, when you're a record dealer, you have to take the records that you buy and sell them to the general public to keep your business going. It is what it is. But I also, through meeting Bill, was able to buy the remaining stock of the leftover copies of the Katha Visions LP. And then we sold those through the store for a very reasonable amount of money. And then we reissued the album and did a new pressing, a new remaster of the Katha Visions album. And yeah, just wow, what a great memory as we celebrate our 18th year in business. What a great memory to reminisce on. Bill Vermet record collection was just unbelievable. What a mind blower. All right, and 2 or 3 more here. We got Southern Steel's Get On Through. This is an amazing country rock, southern rock kind of hybrid. More on the country rock tip than it is on the southern rock, in the southern rock realm. But, you know, those worlds are definitely a little blurred for sure. The lines are blurred. I tracked down the members of Southern Steel and we licensed a track. Originally we licensed a track for Brown Acid, but then we decided to license the entire LP and reissue it on Writing Easy Records. So you can get a copy of this at permanentrecordsla.com. The band absolutely hated the original album art, so we revamped it with a photo of the band on the front and changed it up a bit. So it looks different, same album, same original recordings, nothing's been changed about the music, just the album art, to get away from this generic kind of really, I don't know, it's very bland. And it really doesn't give you a whole lot to go on there, does it? But anyway, that's the OG. It's like, I don't know, $300-400 record or something like that. And then also in the Southern rock world. We just licensed this Legend LP for reissue. This is an OG. My buddy Rich Hop sold me my first copy of this album, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. Here is the picture of the band from the back of the album, and this will be reissued on vinyl as well. This is like a $2-ish $100 record, and what great album art. Also private pressing, I believe a Texas Southern rock record, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, it's late. I only do these videos after I've gotten all my homework done, and once we get to this hour of the evening, I'm feeling a little loopy, which is kind of what keeps these videos fun, hopefully. Anyway, last but not least, this is what we've been listening to in the background of this video, and side A was playing in the background of the first video. This is Sylvain Carell's Look Over the Nile. This is a great example of a foreign private pressing. So this came out in 1982. Sylvain is a French recording artist, and although private pressings are generally an American affair, there are far more American private pressings than there are European or other international private pressings. They do exist, and this is an amazing example of one. Sylvain Carell's Look Over the Nile. And if you want to spend more time with this record without spending hundreds of dollars buying an OG copy online, don't worry, we got you covered in the foreseeable future. That's a little secret for you, because we love private pressings and I love working on reissues of them. So you can look forward to getting one of those for yourself in the future. As you can see, I got my Fraction t-shirt on. So stoked to have worked on this reissue. And just for a little eye candy at the end of the video, here's my original pressing of Fraction Moonblood. This album was reissued earlier this year, 2024, on Riding Easy Records. I did the A&R work. I tracked down Jim Beach from the band Fraction, and we did a deluxe reissue of this album. Looks and sounds great. I A-B'd my copy of the original to the reissue, and it sounds just as good, if not better. I highly recommend grabbing one of these while they're still available. We are running low, but you can get a copy at permanentrecordsla.com. One of the most highly rated records in the Acid Archives. The editor himself, Patrick Lundborg, called this the heavy psych monster to conquer them all. And there you have it. Just a little glimpse into the wackiness that goes on up in here, and why record freak, weirdo, insane record collectors like me love these private pressings. If you have any questions about this world, feel free to hit me with a comment below. I'd love to hear why you like private pressings, or why you dislike them, or why you're indifferent. Whatever you want to say, I do my best to comment back, to respond to all the comments below, and I will continue to do so. Thanks again for tuning in, y'all. Until the next video, come follow us on Instagram at Permanent Records LA. We post records for sale over there every night of the week, and you can use it as just a resource to learn about new stuff. So, new, mostly old stuff. Use it for whatever you want to use it for. It's our gift to you from one record collector to another. Right on, y'all. Cheers.